Hi, I'm Tyler Fertel here, joined by five-time Paralympian Matt Scott. Matt, thank you for coming onto the podcast today.
Thank you so much, Tyler. This is great, man. I'm excited that you're sharing your platform with me. This is going to be a great conversation.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it right now too. I'm excited to learn more about you, your Paralympic process, your professional career, everything. So why don't we just get started here? And you know what? The first question is going to be from the beginning. You were diagnosed with spinal bifida at birth. Did you ever have like a feeling of why me that had to have this disability when growing up? And if so, how did you overcome these feelings?
That's a really good question. So yeah, I was born with spina bifida. It's a congenital birth defect, and I've had it my entire life. I was born with it, so I've nothing was ever taken away from me. It wasn't like I was running, jumping, climbing one day, and then something was taken away from me. So it's never given me a feeling of disadvantage because this has always been my circumstance. So anytime that someone gives me a challenge, I always want to overcome that challenge. And life has given me a challenge of being a person with a disability. So what's going to make me great is overcoming that every single day. So no, I've never felt that I needed I never felt like why me. I I really like to be challenged. I like to be challenged in life. So I say why not me?
Uh-huh. And you started playing wheelchair basketball from a young age. You started playing at the age of 14. And before we really get into wheelchair basketball and everything you've done with that sport, what was the process of like choosing wheelchair basketball? Were there any other sports you were interested in before? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's another good question. So wheelchair basketball is just kind of a natural progression for me because I've always loved the sport of basketball. Since I was a kid, I can't even remember a time that I wasn't absolutely in love with the game. As a kid, I just dribble around the neighborhood. I always watched the games like with my friends and family. It was something I was very close to with just the game of basketball. So when I learned about wheelchair basketball, to be honest, first I wasn't really sure about it. It didn't have a lot of exposure, and it didn't really. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. But once I hit the court and I saw what everyone was capable of, and I saw what I could potentially be capable of, it's impossible not to be drawn to it. I think wheelchair basketball is one of those sports that if you see it, that you're immediately drawn to it.
Were you? I saw that you grew up in Detroit. Were you a Bad Boys fan, a Chauncey Billups fan?
That's right, man. That's right. I grew up in that era. So I grew up right in between those eras, like right after the Isaiah Thomas Pistons, like the Joe Dumars, like the original Bad Boys.
Uh-huh.
I was pretty young for that. But I was such a big fan of like Rip Hamilton, Chauncey Billups, Tayshaun Prince, Ben Wallace, like those guys.
Mhm.
Like that was my squad. Like that was really that was my era, and I loved growing up as a Pistons fan.
Mhm. And kind of getting more into your wheelchair basketball career, how did you really get involved with the sport? It's one thing to really fall in love with the sport and want to participate, and it's really another thing to get involved with that sport. So what steps did you take to really step onto the court?
That's a good question too. So, I mean, I was involved in my neighborhood, or not in my neighborhood, in my like community league, because the NWBA is the National Wheelchair Basketball Association.
Uh-huh.
It has a junior division, which is very I would say it's comparable to AAU because it's a travel league, and it has a lot of different teams from different states.
Mhm.
So my team was coming out of Michigan. There was another Michigan team as well that we used to battle with, and those battles, those junior division battles, as a young high school kid, really made me want to focus up and set myself apart from the rest of the kids and make myself a better player.
Mhm.
I remember coming to practice being like, who is the best wheelchair basketball player? Like, who is he, and how can I reach that height?
Uh-huh.
So what I would do is I would go to these different camps that they would have throughout the summer. The University of Wisconsin Whitewater had a camp every summer. The University of Illinois had a camp every summer. And I would go to these collegiate camps and I would learn the game and learn how to break break down all the fundamentals. And that's really what set me apart and really established me in the game is learning how to play at a high level. And even as a young kid, I was trying to break down the game um, from the fundamentals all the way to the flashy things.
Mhm. And I saw that you attended the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, which you just talked about, and played for their wheelchair basketball team. What was the process of going to that school? Did you get an offer? Just had a connection with the coach? How did you decide to end up there?
So University of Wisconsin Whitewater was well known for their hard work. So there was a lot of colleges back then. I think back when I first started playing wheelchair basketball, like in the collegiate division, there was about 10 teams. And now I want to say there's about 15 and maybe almost 20 collegiate universities that have programs that have college wheelchair basketball, which is huge. It's just expanding every year.
Mhm.
I got a lot of different offers. I remember turning down a full ride scholarship to the University of Texas Arlington. My mom was, oh man, she was not happy because free education, get a chance to go to school. But I was really focused on making myself the best basketball player I could be, and really taking a program that I saw fit me the most.
Mhm.
There was different schools. Sometimes you see these different university athletes. They might choose a school that not everybody thought they were going to choose. It's because they probably saw themselves in that school. They saw themselves in that program. The characteristics of University of Wisconsin Whitewater were the characteristics that I saw for myself. They were gritty, they worked hard, and they were no flash. They were just all hard work, and they knew how to play the game at the right way. And so I decided to go there. I was recruited my junior to senior year when I started getting recruited there, and the rest is history.
Uh-huh. And while you're still a teenager, you attended your first Paralympic Games, which was across the world in Athens, Greece. So obviously, that is a young age to be competing in such a crazy international tournament. So, what was it like to be on that big of a stage as still only a teenager?
Man, I still think about those games like that. Those 2004 games back in Athens was this huge spectacle. There were fireworks and celebrations, and it was like this big celebration of sport, right? Um, when I first got there, it's like you have that lump in your throat, your stomach is a little bit, it's like got these butterflies. But I never for a second thought this isn't where I should be. Like when I got off the plane, I knew like this is exactly where I need to be. This is the top of the top. This is where all the best players are from. This is where history is made, and
Mhm.
this is where I need to be. So that's how I felt. I knew that it was a big deal, but I knew this is where I belong.
Mhm. And I'm not I don't know as much about the really Paralympic, like, wheelchair basketball, like, landscape. How many teams really compete for spots in the wheelchair Paralympics then compared to now? Because I know that the Paralympics overall have grown a lot even since then and over since its history. So, how much has the wheelchair basketball system really grown as a whole?
Oh, it's been growing. Like the Paralympic movement is growing exponentially. Like it's been growing over like every cycle, every 4 years, it's just getting bigger and bigger in terms of teams that are getting better, and also just in terms of coverage that all these we're getting a lot of exposure these days.
Mhm,
Um, it's grown a lot from the time that I've begun being a Paralympian. I'll tell you a little bit about the process of getting there. Is we have what's called the Pan American Games, which is North and South America.
mhm,
So we'll play against the Colombias, the Mexicos, the Canadas, Argentina. So we play against our half of the world in our zone, and there's other zones that need to compete for their spots as well. And based on how we do in the major competitions, that's how many spots we get. So normally our zone, North America and South America, we get 3 spots.
uh-huh,
So we have to play against our zone and place in the top three, and then the rest of the the countries have to play in their zone, and if they make it, then we all come together as a big championship, and that's what is the Olympics and or I'm sorry, that's what the Paralympics is, and that's what World Championships is. So first we have to come out of our zone in order to make it there, and once we make it out of our zone, that's when we see who's the best.
Mm-hmm. I know that you've recently won 2 gold medals and a bronze medal in the Paralympics. How competitive is just our zone compared to maybe that of Europe or the rest of the continents? Is the US by far, are you leading the US by far the best team in the North and South Americas, or is it competitive?
So it's been competitive, and since my start with the Paralympics, it's gone in waves. You know, like so we didn't medal in 2004, and then we came back in 2008 and we lost in a triple overtime game in the semifinal, and we didn't medal again. And then we got to 2012 and we came back with a bronze medal, which I like to call rose gold. After that in 2016, we came home with our first gold medal. So it wasn't like we just been dominating this thing the whole time. Like there's been waves of other teams being really good. Canada was really good when I first began. They've since taken a backseat to some of the better teams, but you know they have been good in the past. Let's see, Mexico is usually a fighter in the games. Argentina is usually a fighter in the games. Brazil as well. As of right now, we're the best team in the world. I don't know what to tell you. We're the best team there is, but it took a fight to get there. We took a lot of jumps and we took a lot of lumps as well to say that we're the best team in the world. But now it's there's no comparison.
Top of the podium now. But
That's right.
but what so you guys really did have this jump to the top. I mean, you just talked about how you went from not getting a medal to winning the bronze in the 2012 and then 2016-20 getting the golds. What really went into that process of rising in stardom for the US Paralympic wheelchair basketball team? Was it really the same group of players?
So much a jump to the top. It was more, I'd say that it was a climb to the top, right? Like we climbed there. Because in 2008, that was one of the most heartbreaking losses that I've ever experienced. Like it was triple overtime. Whoever wins this game goes to the gold medal game, and we got smacked in the face, punched in the mouth, and we got sent back without anything. So coming back in 2012 and getting that bronze, it really meant a lot. But after that 2012 team, we really did go back to the drawing board, and we came back with the same core. Like some of our better, best players. Me and Steve Serio and Mikey Pay, and we came back with some of our core players. But we really did bring in some youth and some different blood, right? It was nice because our camaraderie really shifted. It became that we weren't just playing basketball for a team. Like we were playing basketball for our brothers, and we were really competing as friends. Like those were our guys for Team USA, and we weren't just out there playing basketball. We were out there playing for each other.
Mhm. So it really seems like it was a full group effort, core group of players that really all wanted mutually to be the best. And obviously, with the U.S. national team now ranked #1 in the nation, that clearly has happened. So that's an awesome story, awesome thing to see.
Definitely.
So now I want to talk a little bit more about your really professional career in terms of wheelchair basketball. So after college at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater and also those 2004 games in Athens, you decided to go play pro wheelchair basketball in Turkey for Galatasaray.
That's right.
I hope I pronounced that right.
You did. You actually nailed that.
Go. And you also competed in the Italian and German leagues in your time in Europe as well. So what really appealed to you to play over there overseas?
So it's not a secret to anybody that I love wheelchair basketball. Like it's really my passion. It's something that I love with all my heart, and I want the world to know about this sport. I don't want to just play the game, and just hope that somebody please appreciate it. I wanted to take it on the road. I wanted to go every corner of the world and show people that this game is awesome. So yeah, I moved to Turkey, which I knew was going to be a challenge for me. There was a great appreciation for wheelchair basketball there, and I got a chance to go there and share my love for the game with a different part of the world, and play over there in Europe. For I was over there for about 12 years, not in Europe, not in Turkey, but just in different parts of Europe, sharing my love and sharing my joy for the game. My draw to go over there and play abroad overseas was, one, I could do it professionally. There is no professional wheelchair basketball in the United States. That's what people need to know. I wish there was, and if I have it my way, I'm gonna bring professional wheelchair basketball here to the United States. But being able to play there professionally, making it my number one priority, and also being able to show the whole world how much I love this game, and maybe sharing my love to where they would love the game too. That was my biggest motivation to be there.
Mhm. If you had to choose which nation that you played in was your favorite to kind of play in which league?
That's such a hard question. People ask me that all the time, and they all gave me something different. Like playing in Turkey, I really learned how to be a professional. It was amazing. I love the country. I love the food. I love the people. It was really an eye opening experience. Italy, the food was amazing. The weather was great. I really love to just travel that country. Their culture is just amazing. Everything is a bit relaxed. You drink your coffee, you eat your pizza, and you play some basketball. Germany was really intense. Their level of professionalism, and their level of the way they want to see the game rise is really intense and very admirable. I really loved living there. So it's tough to choose. I think if I had to, man, I think I really loved my time in Italy. Just because the lifestyle combination with sport was just something I've never experienced before.
Mhm. And I'm guessing you played did any of your Paralympic teammates kind of play in Europe with you, or was it everyone that you played with was new, you was just all new experiences?
That's an awesome question too, because I did actually have the opportunity to play with some of my Paralympian teammates. Me and my friend Jake Williams, we both played for the national team together, won two gold medals together, and we also won back-to-back um, European champion cups over there. I was oftentimes the only American on that team, so I was playing against other Paralympians that I knew, but not USA Paralympians. I played with guys from Australia and Poland and Turkey. Um, I had a lot of different teammates, but not all. They weren't exactly Team USA teammates.
Mhm. Um, and kind of moving back into the Paralympic scene. So you have competed in 5 consecutive Paralympic Games, which is, I mean, that is incredible for anyone. And winning 3 medals in the process is even another story. So that is awesome. And so next one is Paris 2024. That's going to be a fun
That's
game,
right.
especially with the Paralympics growing every year. But then the even bigger one is Los Angeles 2028. And you'll be 43 years of age when the Paralympics come to LA. So is your plan for LA 2028 to be your last Paralympic Games?
That would be a dream come true, to play in a home Paralympic Games. I just told you how much I wanted to take the game on the road with me, and I wanted to show the world how much wheelchair basketball was awesome, and maybe share my passion with it. For it to come home and for me to play in front of my friends and family would be amazing. I'm gonna take it one games at a time, though. I'm gonna take it one games at a time. I think the next one up will be very very exciting for everyone, because it will be the first games outside of COVID. Like, I think the 2020 Paralympics was exciting, um, but I think people want to get back to what the normal games are usually like. So that will be another exciting one. But when it comes home to LA 2028, I'm expecting it to be the best Paralympic Games that's ever had.
Really. And I mean, how would you like to see the Paralympics grow even more by 2028? We've talked a lot about how it really has gotten bigger over the years that you've even been playing, but by 2028, when it comes here to the US, what would you like to see?
The things I would like to see when the Paralympic Games comes to LA 2028 is more coverage. Right now, I think we do have a lot of coverage, especially from when I first started. But we're not covering the entire tournament. We're not really getting into who these players are and what they represent. I think that wheelchair basketball, especially, is pretty nuanced in the sense that there's different classifications, right? So a lot of people don't realize that you don't need to be in a wheelchair to play wheelchair basketball. They think that like everybody that plays wheelchair basketball is also rolling around in a wheelchair all day, every day.
Mhm.
Where in reality, you may be a below leg amputee, or maybe one of your longer than the other, or you could be missing a toe, or any permanent disability of the lower extremities allows you to play wheelchair basketball. And I think that knowledge, like nationwide, if people understood that, they would understand the game a lot more too, because which they would understand the different levels of disability, and I think that would change their level of perception for the game.
Mhm. So kind of expanding on that a little bit more, one really movement or organization that has really put in the effort to do a lot of stuff is one that you and I are both involved in. It is Angel City Sports. And you are present at a lot of the organization's events and are involved in the organization through and through. So, how do you think Angel City Sports overall is impacting the physically disabled sports community?
In a major way. I think that Angel City Sports is impacting our entire Paralympic movement in a major way. The thing that I mentioned earlier about the university that I chose, because I saw the qualities of that university and that program in myself. The reason why I've attached myself to Angel City Sports and have showed up to so many of their events is because I see myself in the characteristics that they have. They've built their organization from the ground up. They are all about heart. They are all about giving, and they're all about pouring into the next generation. I'm all about all of those things. I have so much respect for Clayton and Bahar and Ezra, um, because they is dear to their heart, and they've made it an entire movement, and it's just growing and growing every year. You saw, we were just at the event a couple of weeks ago. How many people leave that place with a smile on their face because they've been positively impacted? And this isn't just kids. Like, this isn't just like kids that are having fun. These are grown adults that maybe wouldn't have an outlet to be active, and now they have a home, and they have an entire community. I have a lot of respect for the Angel City sports movement, and I'm very happy to be a part of it.
Mhm. And you're just talking about Courage Weekend and how many people are leaving the event with smiles on their faces. That was out at Cerritos College last weekend. And another thing I would like to mention is you during right before the wheelchair basketball game, you and Ezra were just launching half court shots. You ended up making one. It was incredible, fun to watch. So just a fun little question that I would like to ask, just because it was so just like crazy to see you just throwing up these half quarters with ease, even in a wheelchair. How much time and effort did it take to like just do that all of a sudden, or just like, I mean, you made it look very very easy.
So the first thing I'm going to tell you is that was in my day chair. So I usually will have two chairs with me. I'll have my competition chair, and I'll have my day chair, and I'll compare my day chair to like a pair of flip flops, and I'll compare my competition chair to like a pair of sneakers that you're lacing up and you're getting into.
Mhm.
So basically, you saw me drain that half court shot. in a pair of flip flops. So, but your question was, what does it take, and what type of what do I put into making those things look so easy? Man, I've played basketball forever. Like when you put me on a basketball court, that's my natural habitat. You give me a basketball, I have the biggest smile on my face, and I know what to do with that thing. Like all the training that I've put in, hours and hours of just dedication. So for me, it's not a difficult thing. I just get on there and I just have fun with it.
Mhm. And I think something that people might think is very interesting is obviously like we know what goes into a basketball practice normally. I mean, you do 5-on-5 practice, you run plays, you do layup lines, whatever, all these things to kind of just go through the motions, not normally, obviously, but go through the motions at game speed and really get used to what the game feels like. How similar is a wheelchair basketball practice to you? Is it always you play 5-on-5, or is it a lot about also the mechanics and really getting down the basics before you really put together everything and just jump on the
It's
court?
it's exactly that. I know every coach is going to have a different way that they coach their team, but like on our national team, it's all about those mechanics, getting those things down that are the automatics. Making sure the play is right, making sure that everybody's running the same um, in the same motions, using the same plays, getting our chair mechanics. That's the thing that's an underrated part of our game, is being able to move your chair from point A to point B in a fast manner. Like speed kills in every sport. So being able to like propel your chair, setting picks, and running those plays. So our basketball practices are similar to the ones that you just described. Making sure that everybody's on the same page. Running plays and getting the mechanics down, going through those motions, so when it's game time, everybody's ready for that gold medal win.
Uh-huh. And kind of adding a little bit more, on your, I think it was your Wikipedia page, I read that in 2016, you were forced to spend multiple months in the hospital and even went into a coma for 2 weeks. And you really said that this episode put your life and basketball career into real perspective. So if you're comfortable answering this, can you share more about how this affected you and like your career overall? Because obviously you've played in Europe, you've played in the Paralympics. I mean, it's awesome.
Absolutely, and I definitely feel comfortable sharing. Not, and I hope that doesn't take a downturn. But back in 2018, like you just mentioned, I was forced to go to the hospital, and it was sadly to say, it was a very near death situation. So what that did is that really changed my entire perspective. Because now every time I get a chance to touch a basketball, every time that I get a chance to be on a basketball court, I'm grateful to be there. It's not that I wasn't grateful to be there before, but now I'm so aware that every day isn't promised, and every time that you're on the basketball court, it isn't promised. So every time I get out there, I'm really really enjoying myself to the fullest, because I know that I remember that those times were not very easy for me. And I told myself when I was in the hospital, like, hey, when you get back out there, because I knew I was going to get back out there.
Mhm.
I told myself when I'm back out there, I'm going to enjoy every single moment, and I'm gonna make big goals for myself, and I'm going to go after those goals with joy and enthusiasm every time.
Mhm. And you're one of the leaders of this US national team. What is really like the foundation of your game? What is your game centered around of? Are you more of a perimeter shooter, or are you kind of a guy that likes to get down into the paint and really put your body into it and go up? What makes your game so special?
So the thing about my game is that I know how to win. So honestly, like I'll just be honest. It's like I think that I can bring a lot of different things to the team. I'm a very versatile player as far as like offense and defense goes. So the best part about our team, the Team USA, is that there's no specialist. There's no guy on the team that only does one thing. Like we don't have a guy on there that's just like, okay, you're only gonna shoot threes, or you're only gonna dribble, or you're only the big guy. It's like, no, our big guys are they're handling the ball, and our little guys are defending big guys. And we're very versatile. So the thing that stands me out as a player is that I can play 1 through 5. Whether I'm going to be a point guard or I'm going to be a big guy. I can handle the ball. I can shoot it from distance. I can take it to the basket. You name it, Tyler, I'm going to do it. It's all good. So whenever the coach has a request for me, I never look at him crazy because I know that I can complete the task that he just asked me to complete.
Mhm. And as someone who has played wheelchair basketball for a long time, as someone who has really played on all the stages of the game, if you end up being, or if you want to be some sort of a scout, what are you looking for in techniques that wheelchair basketball players need to possess?
Work ethic, work ethic. You show me work ethic, I'll show you a superstar. It's for me, uh, the intangibles, like the things that guys work on and they have fun doing. I want to see the joy on their face when they're out there actually putting the work in. Because basketball's fun. Everybody's having fun when you're playing, but when you hit a practice court and you see a guy out there really loving the process of that, I'll show you a superstar if you show me that guy.
Mhm. And you talked a lot about hopefully getting a league out here in the United States. What do you think that either the government or the NBA or whoever you think could really fund a potential wheelchair basketball league in the US, what type of movement needs to happen or who needs to support that in order for that to become a reality? Because I know that people watching, a lot of supporters of the Paralympics, even the Olympics, any sports fans overall would definitely be interested in that coming to the United States.
Absolutely. And the thing is so there is a league. I think what needs to happen is that our league in the United States, we have the NWBA. Um, our model is that we're going to make sure that everyone has this outlet to play wheelchair basketball. I think the differentiator between that is when we realize that we want an elite league that is only for people that want to take that to the next level. It's not just recreation, it's not just rehabilitation. This is something that they want to take and make it their number one priority. So if we make just like a separate league for only the elite level. And I think that we can sort of package that to sponsors. We can have other entities get involved for support. Um, and then there's the exposure there because now you're seeing it played at the highest level and you're able to maybe package that and show wheelchair basketball at the highest level. I think that's the step that needs to be taken. At its very moment, it's like a everybody can play kind of league. So you'll have a 5-time Paralympian, maybe on the same team as somebody that might have been injured last year, is still kind of filling out the game, and that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. But I think that if there was a league that was specifically for the elite level, then we could start approaching sponsors for that and really packaging that as our league.
Mhm. And not only are you one of the greatest Paralympian athletes the United States or the world has ever seen. You are really doing magnificent things with your platform right now. And I saw you had the opportunity to testify virtually in front of Congress on the topic of more accessible transportation and infrastructure with air in terms of air travel. And so in terms of disability awareness, I just wanted to mention this, what you are doing here, just because I think it's really, really cool. And I also wanted to give you the opportunity to really talk more about this. And yeah.
Yeah, so that was a great opportunity to have, and I hope that I did it some justice. I think sometimes when you get a chance to speak for a vast majority, I think my biggest fear is that I didn't say enough. It's like I can't speak for everyone's experience, but I do know that I've had these experiences myself. And the experiences that I'm speaking of is they're the hearing that I was a part of was about having a dignified experience for people with disabilities to travel with airline travel. They they really want to prioritize a dignified experience, and like at the moment, there are some challenges there. There's chairs that are being broken, competition chairs, day chairs. There's really small bathrooms that aren't that disabled people, people with disabilities, I'm sorry, aren't able to use. So being able to speak to that experience as someone that does have a disability, um, lends some credibility to that. And I was really happy to use my voice in a way that's going to be heard in front of some people that can make some decisions. As I said, my fear is just that I hope I said enough, and I hope that um, I hope I was able to make people that also knew that I had that experience. I hope I was able to make them proud and that they felt that their experiences were being spoken to.
Hmm. Um, and also just in terms of wanting to be supportive, someone like me, someone who just wants to see more growth in terms of disability awareness, what can supporters really do to help these causes?
Well, I mean, for starters, this is awesome. You're sharing your platform with me. That's huge. Like you sharing your platform with me here is gonna ensure like 100% someone's gonna see this that has never seen wheelchair basketball before, doesn't know what the Paralympics is, doesn't know who I am, and now they're gonna be like, oh well, let's look and see what are some of the things he's talking about. Let's look into the NWBA. Let's look into who is Matt Scott and what has he done. He can make half court shots. Let me maybe check out one of his games.
Mhm.
This is huge. You sharing this platform with me. What can other people do is share the awareness. Like when you see something cool from a Paralympian, they win a race. Ezra breaks a record jumping 20,000 feet in the air. Share it. Put it on Instagram. Put it on social media. Put it out there so people can see the incredible feats that these Paralympians are out here training for every single day. Because the more you share it, the more people can understand it, and they're less mystified by it. They're less confused by what Paralympic sport is, and then they can actually feel more connected to it.
Mhm. And something cool that I saw in terms of more exposure to those with disabilities is you started a Nike ad, no excuses. I was just made aware of this. This was awesome. I watched it recently. And it makes the viewer unaware of your disability until it zooms out at the end to see your wheelchair. So what was being part of that commercial, starring in that commercial? What type of experience was that for you?
It was mind blowing. I grew up a Michael Jordan fan. I grew up a huge fan of every athlete that Nike has ever taken care of. Has ever sponsored or ever supported. I feel like Nike to me is like it's like the epitome of sports brands. It's like the top of the top. So when I got that opportunity to be a part of that, it really spoke volumes to society. I really think that when you have the credibility of Nike, they lend their credibility to the Paralympics, the Paralympic Games, and Paralympians, because I think that back then, I think people were still kind of they didn't know about Paralympic sport. Should they feel sorry for people with wheelchairs? Should they they didn't really understand wheelchair sports or Paralympic sports. So when Nike says, "Hey, this is cool," then the world says, "Hey, this is cool." You know what? When you have these huge, huge brands and these huge companies that that vouch for you, then it lets society know that you've arrived. So it really changed the game for me personally, but it changed the game for Paralympic sports in general.
Mhm. Um, and kind of expanding off of that, what advice would you have to give to any aspiring athletes, or maybe more specifically, a young adaptive athlete who looks up to you, who saw this ad and was like, "I want to be a wheelchair basketball player too." What do you have to say to them?
My advice would be fall in love with it, because that's gonna get you past all the obstacles. I think as a Paralympic athlete, you run into a lot of different obstacles, whether it be the equipment is really expensive, or we don't have the support or the recognition of some of the able-bodied sports. There's a lot of different obstacles that you'll have to get over. Um, I found that I loved it so much that I didn't care about any of those obstacles. I didn't care I didn't care if we weren't going to be on TV. I didn't care if we weren't, making the same, or I didn't care about some of the like I said, the different obstacles that were in front of us. The chairs are really expensive. So I remember my first chair was this really beat up, old school wheelchair basketball chair. I loved it so much that it didn't matter. It's like the equivalent of like Rocky and the meat freezer kind of thing. It's like he didn't have this big amazing gym, but he really his love for boxing, or people's love for their sport, their love for their game is going to get them past it. My advice would be fall in love with your sport. I don't care if you're a Paralympic racer, Paralympic wheelchair basketball player, tennis. Fall in love with it, and it'll get you past all the obstacles that are going to be in front of you.
Mhm. Well, Mr. Scott, thank you very, very much for joining me here. This was a lot of fun, very informative for me, and obviously all in the audience of this interview. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to talking again soon.
Thank you so much again for sharing your platform with me. This is amazing. And for anybody watching, thank you so much for checking out the Paralympic world. I hope you check us out in the future, and you'll be sitting front side of the 2028 games.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to those. It's gonna be great to have those come to our hometown. So yeah.
Thank you, my friend.